Okay.
All right, it's 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm convening the zoning hearing officers meeting of October 6, 2022. I'm Joe Leclerc, zoning hearing officer for San Mateo County Planning and Building Department. Janet, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States
United
of
States of
America
America,
and to the republic
Republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one nation, under God, liberty and justice for
indivisible,
all.
with liberty and justice
Justice
for
for
all.
all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll now provide an opportunity for oral communication from the public on any matter that is not on the agenda. And Janice, can you please read the instructions and announce whether someone has raised their hand who wants to make public comment on agendized matters?
Sure. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raised hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment period and for each item on the regular agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to raise your hand to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. So at this point, there's nobody from the public on the line, so there's no hands raised.
I guess Catherine's the only member of the public and she's an applicant. So I think we're good to go there. Thank you. Thank you, Janet. So before I move on, I want to mention that we are making a change to the agenda. We currently have 3 consent items, but we're going to take item number 2, that's PLN 2021-00357, and move that to the regular agenda. And we'll have a staff presentation and public hearing on that item. So with that, we'll take up the consent agenda as modified. So that includes item 1 regarding a resolution for continued remote meetings due to health concerns raised by the governor's executive order. And item number 2 on the consent agenda, which is a proposal by PSA International Partners for a use permit renewal to allow the continued operation of a existing telecommunication facility. So is there anybody from the public who wishes to move item number 2 on the consent agenda to the regular agenda? That we don't have anybody for the public here, so I assume that that's not the case. So if not, then I will announce approval of the items on the consent agenda, and pursuant to the findings and subject to the conditions of approval in the staff report. If anyone wishes to appeal this approval, they may do so by submitting an application to the planning department, and it would be appealed to the planning commission, but they must submit an application in writing within 10 days, which would be the 20th of this month, along with a $616.35 appeal fee. Thank you. That concludes our consent agenda. And now we'll
Joe, can I just say real fast, I do see someone in the public with a cell phone number or telephone number. So if they do wish to, they haven't raised their hands, but in case you do feel the need to speak, please press *9 on your phone to go ahead and raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. So the one item then on our regular agenda is a proposal by property owner Gary Ernst, PLN 2021-00357, located at 3865 Jefferson Avenue in Emerald Lake Hills. It's a proposal for a minor subdivision and grading permit to subdivide a about 38,000 square foot parcel into 2 parcels, one about 21,000 and the other about 16,000. and 425 cubic yards of earthwork. And there's also, as part of the grading permit, a tree removal permit for 4 significant trees. With that brief description, I'll turn it over to Camille Leung on the staff to present the project. Camille?
Good morning. The project is located in 3865 Jefferson Avenue, and it's located right at the lake in the sort of southeastern portion of Emerald Hills. And as you can see in the aerial, there's a house that's currently located on the parcel with some trees along Jefferson and some trees along the lake as well. The proposal is to split the 38,000, approximately 38,000 square foot parcel into 2 parcels. Parcel A, which will be a flag lot, and parcel B, they're both over the, in size, they're both over the 12,000 square foot minimum of the residential hillside zoning district. There'll be separate access drives from Jefferson Avenue. And in order to achieve those driveways, they propose 425 cubic yards of earthwork, which then triggers the need for a grading permit. And the existing house and associated improvements on the property would be removed under this proposal. The driveways, the separate driveways, and hence all the grading contours, the new grading contours are shown on the top right corner of the property. The 2 properties include, the 2 new properties would be a flag lot on the left and just a conventional lot on the right, with driveways and garages shown just for sort of putting the driveways into context. And then the houses are shown just in kind of a general footprint, but they have not been proposed at this time, and will later probably come in with design review permit applications. There are trees shown on this plan that are within those conceptual building footprints that would not be removed under this proposal. And I'll go into that in more detail. So as you can see here, Jefferson Avenue is on the other side of that row of trees, and the topography declines towards the lake and towards the existing house. As you can see here, there are a bunch of trees on the property, quite a few. And the ones that are X'd out in red are not being approved under this project. The ones in green are being approved should the ZHO decide to approve the project, are part of this proposal. And we'll just start with tree number 15. It's a coast live oak. Oh, sorry, that's on the next slide. So anyway, this slide, I just wanted to illustrate that no trees would be removed until a building permit is issued for a house. So while the driveways are proposed under this current grading permit, they would not be implemented until I've spoken with the applicant about this, who I think is on the line. Maybe he may be that phone number that's unidentified. And the civil engineer, Dan McLeod, is also the project civil associated with this project. But I've confirmed with the applicant that the driveways will not be graded until there's a building permit for the house that's issued. So, but we did want to approve these trees with the driveways because they're necessary to achieve these subdivision improvements. So tree number 15 is located in the right of way, and it's a 10-inch coast live oak. Trees 16, 17, and 18 are black acacias that are all these trees are over the 6-inch diameter threshold for Emerald Hills for significant trees. So therefore they need a permit for removal. And they would not be removed until the building permit's issued for each of the houses. These are more pictures of those trees along Jefferson, including the oak and the black acacia trees. And as you can see, there's utility wires, lines going through these canopies. So these trees, as noted by the arborist, are kind of poor in form as they've been trimmed over time by the utility district provider. In terms of environmental review, the proposed subdivision is categorically exempt via CEQA Class 15 for the division of property located in urbanized areas into 4 or fewer parcels. Also, the subdivision complies with the general plan. The proposed density of 1.19 dwelling units per acre is well within the range of 0.3 to 2.3 dwelling units per acre allowed by the general plan. And the parcel sizes comply with the minimum lot size of 12,000 for Emerald Hills for parcels which are 12% in slope or less, which is the case here. So in terms of the subdivision findings, there's quite a few findings and they're all detailed in the staff report. I picked out the most important here about the site being physically suitable for development. The sites have a moderate slope, water and sewer services are available, and vehicular access is directly provided from Jefferson Avenue. Also that the design of the subdivision would not cause substantial environmental harm. There's no sensitive habitat, it's a man-made lake, and also there's no change to the lake for this subdivision. Also, the 4 trees being removed here are necessary for the driveway. So tree removal has been minimized in this case, and additional tree removal will be considered with the design review permit for each house. In terms of grading permit findings, there's quite a few of those too, but the most important is that the granting of the permit will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment. There's a geotechnical study that was provided and reviewed by the county's geotechnical section. Specific recommendations from the geo report have been integrated into the proposal, and the project would comply with erosion sediment controls and dust controls, as well as the replacement of vegetation as proposed and conditioned. There is a change to the condition. I'm now realizing that we might have to add a couple other conditions, but the trees, so to capture the fact that only trees 15, 16, and 17, and 18 are being approved under this subdivision grading permit, I added some language in condition number 4, and also specifically requiring the protection of those other trees that need to be retained. But I also just wanted to confirm, and I'll do that if Joe, if you have any questions. I wanted to confirm that the tree replacements are required, and if not, then we need to put that into the conditions.
Well, yes, we'll need to add if there isn't a condition requiring replacement, and I think that both the RH and tree ordinance do require replacement plantings.
Yeah.
Then the RH zoning and the tree ordinance do require replacement, so we can just simply add a condition that requires replacement consistent with those two
Yes.
controlling codes, both the RH
Yeah.
and the
I think they were missed from
yeah.
the staff report. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's do that. So we
so,
can put, you want to put that into condition 4?
Yeah, I think it'll just be an amendment
Okay.
to the staff report, and
Okay.
we'll take care of the wording in the process of crafting the decision letter. But I think it's clear to everyone engaged here that we're going to modify this conditions to require replanting. So I did have a question having to do with the easement along the lake. I visited the site a couple days ago, and I didn't see, I have to admit, I don't remember whether or not there is a fence along Jefferson that precludes access to the easement from the public way. And I'm also unfamiliar with the nature of the easement. It was described on the map as a public easement. And I don't know if that's a narrow public that is the folks who live in the subdivision, or the broader public that includes all of us. And so if that easement is meaningful, you need to be able to get to it. And the obvious way to get to it would be from Jefferson, and it looks like there might be a property line easement along it's on both parts, the adjoining parcel and what would be parcel A, if this subdivision is approved. So you got a 10-foot access to the access there. So it's just a question whether having access from Jefferson Street makes sense, or Jefferson Avenue, excuse me.
I believe there's a driveway now from Jefferson Avenue that people could walk down, but as far as whether that driveway would remain, I think it would probably be restored. We can ask the applicant or the project civil engineer if they can answer that question.
Okay, that was the only question I had. So if we can sort that out, then we can move on to the public hearing. And as far as I know, we have not received any correspondence from the public regarding this item.
Right, I have not.
So if Mr. Ernst is in attendance, or Mr. McLeod, and can speak to that, that would be helpful.
I
think
do see Mr. McLeod on the attendee side, so I can move him if he'd like, or he can raise his hand if he wants to speak.
Yeah, just, hi, Dan. Can you get him
Yeah,
able to speak?
yeah. Can you hear us? There you go. Mr. McLeod? He's unmuted. There he is. Good morning.
He might be muted on his end.
Yeah, it looks like it. I already unmuted him on our end, so he should be ready to go. But it could be his computer.
I think Evan could be Evan Ernst, or sorry, Evan, who works for Ernst Construction. I think he could be the unidentified phone number. So maybe he's able to help if Dan can't hear Dan.
So the guy that's Evan, you might think he's the
Yeah, I think it might be Evan on the phone line.
on the phone line.
Yeah, if they're still there.
While Dan's trying to unmute himself.
Can you hear me now? This is
Yes.
Dan.
Yes, Dan, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Both are Dan.
Good morning.
Okay, so it's my understanding that the pathway easement that goes around the lake is actually not an easement for the general public. It's for those who live around the lake.
That's what my question was, as to, and so given that, they rely on the 10-foot access, and they're not relying on access from Jefferson.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That was that was my only question.
So may I ask a question of the engineer?
Yes, please.
Dan, what's the plan for the existing driveway? Do you plan to restore it back to the original grade?
Yeah, that's just going to be removed. There's
Okay.
really no grading that's going to take place there except to remove the driveway.
Okay, got it. And then also the 20-foot pathway easement that runs on the south border?
Mhm.
Is that public, fully
No,
public?
that's
or-
the easement that's the easement I was speaking of earlier. It's actually not an easement that allows the public to walk around the lake.
Okay,
That
because I thought
easement
you were
and then
talking about. Uh-huh.
these other easements that serve, that show along property lines, those are to allow the lots that don't front on the lake that are part of the original subdivision of the lake
Okay,
to get access to the lake pathway
Five-
itself.
5-foot pathways.
Yeah, right.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Great, thanks for clarifying that, Dan.
Oh, no problem.
So those are, like I said, those are all my questions. So unless there's any other clarifying information that we need to provide, we can open the public hearing. And if there's anyone who wishes to speak, Janeth can provide them with explanations of how they do that.
Sure. For those calling by phone, please press *9, indicate your desire to speak, and I will go ahead and unmute your microphone at that time. I only see 3 people on the attendee side, and none of them have their hand raised at the moment. Joe.
Okay, so if anybody wants to speak, please raise your hand now.
Yes.
Okay, we will close the public hearing. I'm prepared to approve this application as modified by our prior discussion to add a condition that requires replanting of removed significant trees consistent with the replacement tree requirements in the RH and tree ordinance, so the county's tree ordinance. And
Joe, may I chime in with another little amendment?
sure, what is that?
Okay, sorry, I apologize for the amendments because I didn't write the staff report, but but I did review it and I did miss it myself. The house which straddles the property line would need to be demolished prior to the recordation of the subdivision map.
That condition is already in the staff report.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
When I read it, it was, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
I see that
it's the building department.
Oh yeah, I see. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I would put in the demolition of the existing driveway and restoration to natural contours.
Well, the contours sort of are what they are. I mean, I don't know, natural contours. I think this road was graded in here, so Jefferson Avenue. So I think that if it's just part of the demolition permit, I guess the condition would be to replant the areas of the driveway once it's removed. Yeah. So I want to ask the applicant or applicant's representative. I see Dan has his hand raised, so why don't we let Dan speak before we move on?
Can
ahead,
you
John.
still hear me, Joe?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so, the driveway will be removed. We don't have full design of each parcel yet. We don't have the tentative map approved, so that we haven't worked out a landscape plan or the final architectural site plan. So it's possible, the driveway pavement will be removed, but what goes in there, there could be some type of landscape feature that might not match exactly what the natural grade is. I'd like to leave that open as far as, what takes place within the property, within the landscape.
Yeah, I think that that's consistent with what I said would be a potential condition. I didn't mention anything about grading because I don't think, like you said, well, first of all, we don't have the information, and second, there's really no such thing as natural grade on this site. So it's all been modified over time by development and road construction. So I think that if we can leave it broad and say that the area where the driveway is will be re-landscaped, that'll give the designers flexibility to introduce hardscape elements if that's, what is desired. And, of course, our drainage folks will want to take a look at anything that would affect drainage on the site. And so given the uncertain nature of what will happen in that location, I think just indicating that it needs to be treated, and that'll all get sorted out in the design review process anyway, which will come later. Is that acceptable?
Yes, I would think so.
Okay, so in addition to the condition regarding replacement tree planting, we'll add a condition that requires re-landscaping of the area of the existing driveway, consistent with design review approval, and just leave it vague, appropriate to where we are in the process. Okay, so what I want to know now is whether the applicant has read the staff report and agrees with the findings and conditions of approval therein. Who is representing the applicant? Is it you, Dan, or is the applicant on the phone?
I had assumed that the applicant was in attendance here.
Perhaps they're unfamiliar with the *9 process or is that how they raise their hand, Janet?
Yes, Joe.
Okay.
There's also Evan on the line. Those are the only three, the phone number, Dan and Evan.
Evan
Yeah,
is
Evan
the
is
applicant.
Evan's with the applicant's office.
Mhm.
Okay. Is Evan on the line?
Yeah, he's raised his hand. Hold on just a second. Okay. Be over shortly.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Camille.
Good morning, Evan.
How's it going, guys?
Thanks. You're representing the Gary Ernst, the applicant?
That's correct.
Okay, very well. You've read the staff report and you agree with the findings and conditions of approval, including the two that we have proposed adding in the course of this discussion?
Yeah, so the two that you added were the trees and then also the re-landscaping or whatever of the driveway after removed.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're on board.
Okay, thank you, Evan.
No problem.
So with that, I'm going to approve this project as pursuant to the findings and subject to the conditions of approval, including the two that we added today. And if anyone would like to appeal this approval to the Planning Commission, they may do so within 10 days, 10 working days, and that is October 20th. And the appeal fee and accompanying the application would be $616.35. And thank you. That concludes our agenda. And if there's nothing more, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank
Joe.
you. Hear you again, Dan.
Yeah, good to hear you too, Joe. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye now.